A very high-profile visit from former President Bill Clinton, the highest-level U.S. contact with North Korea, by the way, since Clinton was president nearly a decade ago. But the word just coming in after news broke this morning that the former president would be meeting with Kim Jong Ill in North Korea. And Nora, I mean, again, the news broke this morning. Joe Scarborough was here with us, and so was Chuck Todd. Just the magnitude of this. You've got Secretary of State Clinton, but then you have this enormous power, and that being the former president stepping into this conversation. It's incredible.
This is a huge deal. This is a huge story for a number of reasons. I think what we're seeing now is all of the pieces starting to fall into place and that this could be a success. The reason we're not hearing the White House or other officials comment at this point is because they don't want to jeopardize the success of this. As soon as Bill Clinton and his whole team is in that plane along with these two journalists and they are wheels up, then that's when we're going to hear something about that this is actually that those women who have been held for 4.5 months in North Korea are on their way home. Here's what we know, Tamron. We know that now former President Bill Clinton, along with former White House Chief of Staff Podesta, the Clintons' personal aide Doug Band, that they have now been on the ground for more than 18 or about 18 hours, that they met privately with Kim Jong Ill, of course, that reclusive leader. That's really significant because the last time a senior U.S. official has met with him was in 2000, Madeleine Albright. The last time a president was there, Jimmy Carter, in 1994. So that's a big deal. We're told, of course, that or it's been reported, I should say, that former President Clinton has met with the two women journalists. And so I think what we're waiting on now, Tamron, is when they're going to be wheels up from North Korea and on their way back home. I think that's what we're all waiting for. And nobody wants to say anything in terms of official U.S. reaction until that actually happens.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry, David.
I was going to say, Nora, just to be clear, is it the expectation that that these two American journalists will be on the plane with President Clinton?
That is the indication. That has not been confirmed to me by any U.S. officials, but that is the indication that that's how that would happen. There's also a concern about the health of these women. They have been there for 4.5 months. Euna Lee has had a history of ulcers, so there's been concern about her health situation. They've not been in these labor camps. Remember, they were sentenced to 12 years of hard labor, but in fact, the reporting has been that they're actually staying in one of these government houses, which is actually pretty nice. So they've not been subject to harsh conditions. But clearly, can you imagine the stress of that? She has a young child at home, so there are concerns about their health. And clearly, the former president would want to return with them to the United States. That is the expectation that would happen.
And Nora, we just heard Joe Scarborough, at least his perspective is that this gives North Korea what they wanted, which is some powerful acknowledgement. Yeah. You know, we don't want to move too far past these journalists because, as you mentioned, one's a mother and they have family members who desperately wanted their safe return. But this seems to be obviously larger than just securing the release of these women.
Sure, and Joe is right. I spoke with Michael Green, who is the former Asia expert under the National Security Council under President George W. Bush, who said this is a propaganda coup for Kim Jong Il. That having Bill Clinton there to look like this got the former president there. And of course, the North Koreans already are sort of lying about what happened in these meetings. They say that Bill Clinton delivered this letter from President Obama. The White House said not true. Kim Jong Il and the state-run news agency reported they had exhaustive talks on a whole range of issues. The White House saying, look, this is a humanitarian private issue. This is not about the nuclear disagreements that the United States has with the North Koreans. So you can already see these different storylines that are reemerging. And clearly, Kim Jong Il is going to use this as a propaganda, not only in North Korea, but certainly in South Korea, to suggest he's still relevant, he's still important. I mean, what I'm curious about, though, is how much intelligence we can glean through former President Clinton, as well as some of the other officials on the trip, about the health of Kim Jong Il, any issues on the ground there that will certainly probably be reported back to the CIA, so we can learn about that dictatorship, that reclusive regime, and what they're doing, because we know that in the past several years they've developed enough plutonium for about half a dozen nuclear weapons.
And we know that there had been reports that there had been a transfer of power to Kim Jong-un, the son of Kim Jong-il, and his health also being a part of that. So we'll see what happens, Nora. Thank you very much for your